Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to getting into the album, looking forward to getting into your world of music. So,
Thank you.
yeah, let's get into it. I want to begin before we get into the latest album, Chasin the Dream. I want to
Sure.
start with 6 years ago, this pandemic was changing our lives, changing so much about what we were doing, especially with
Yes,
musicians.
sure.
How did you get through that era, and how has it influenced or changed the way that you approach recording and the bandstand and what you're doing today?
Wow, yeah, that's going back a few years. I have just kind of limited recollections of that year. I remember being outside a lot.
Yeah,
I remember running a lot, which was probably very good for me.
yeah,
I need to go back to that. But as I was running, um, there was just a lot of time I would spend by myself, and these melodies would kind of, plop into my head, and I would just get these little patterns or these little riffs in my head, and eventually that would turn into an album, actually. During that time, see if I have it here. Um, we did this one. It's called "Be With Me" live at the Eastgate Cafe.
yeah.
And I think that came out in like 2022. So that
Okay.
was right on the tail end of everything. And a lot of those melodies that I just kind of had um, in my head as I was going on my runs or just, messing around with the horn because I had a lot more time to do that. Yeah, they would eventually translate themselves into songs. So I guess in that way, the pandemic, helped me get some art out. Not that I would ever, wish that on anybody ever again.
Yeah, no, I get it totally. So let's get into the brand new album, Chasing
Okay.
the Dream. What was the vision? What was the idea behind, and how does it feel in general on a visceral level? How does this album feel?
Well, on a visceral level, feels great. It feels great for a couple of reasons. Out of all the albums I've done so far, and today's the release date, by the way, so we'll
Okay.
see,
Yeah.
we'll see what happens with it. But out of all the albums I've done, this one has gotten the most publicity, and it's because I've invested the most time and effort and money into the production of this album. I mean, let's be honest, it's not cheap, but it's been worth it so far. I'm getting to do great interviews with you, and it's getting played on several radio stations all over the country. So on that level, it feels great. Um, Also, the other albums I've done were all self-released.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, and plenty of wonderful music out there that is self-released. But it was always kind of a goal of mine to get onto a record label. So after I got the mastered tracks back, I just started sending it everywhere. I would just Google jazz labels near me or something, jazz labels in New York, and I was just, I'd spend days just firing it off, and Mark Sherman, who runs Miles High Records, got back to me. We had a great conversation, and it ended up working out that I got added to his label. So that was a goal of mine. So I'm happy to have achieved that. So on that level, to answer your question, viscerally, it feels pretty darn good.
Yeah, I bet. So I'm curious, what is release day like? You gonna have a big blowout, champagne addled
Yeah,
celebration in
can't
the
you see
hotel
it?
room?
Yeah, can't you see the dancers?
I
I
see
mean,
it.
this place is going crazy. Um,
Put plastic over everything.
yeah, yeah, we have to protect all the vintage furniture
Yes.
because, um, well, there will be a CD release party,
Yeah.
if that's what you're referring to, and it's at a jazz club in Chicago on the north side in a neighborhood called Rogers Park. It's called Le Piano,
Okay.
and it's a great venue. I actually did my first CD release there.
Yeah.
Show you that one. We did "Sweet Love of Mine,"
Yeah.
still the Woody Shaw tune. We
Yeah.
did that in 2019. So we'll be there on April 4th, 9:30 p.m.
Okay. So what are you hoping the listener gets from this new album?
Um, that's a great question. I've never really thought of that.
Yeah.
Well, to put it simply, I hope the listener enjoys it.
Yeah.
I hope the listener who's listened to me over the years can hear a kind of evolution, a kind of progression. Not only with me, but with the band. I think if you compare our work to that first album I just showed you to now, um, I can hear improvement.
Yeah.
So I would hope that the listener would be able to get some of that as well. I think we've come a long way, you
Yeah.
know, in more ways than one.
So, talk to me a little bit about your journey into the music, into the jazz world. Are you originally from Chicago?
No, I'm actually from Denver, Colorado.
Okay, Denver.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, born in Denver, went to Cherry Creek High School, um, and I got into trumpet. I think I was in sixth grade. My parents had just split, so we moved, and I went to this middle school, and I didn't have any friends. I didn't know anybody there, and it was time for band class. And this kid, I still remember his name, Corey Sampson, said, "Come sit over here." You know, we were kind of we started to be friends, and Corey happened to play the trumpet. So thanks, Corey. Um, so that's kind of how it started. And then, I would do what everybody else has done, middle school jazz bands, high school jazz bands, stuff like that. One summer, my parents sent me to Interlochen, that summer music camp in Traverse City, Michigan, I
Yeah.
believe it is. So I did that. And then in college, um, I actually was not a music major, but I always, did music classes. I did big band, I did combos, stuff like that. And I was actually lucky enough to join a great brass band for a short period of time called the Youngblood Brass Band. Kind of mixes traditional New Orleans with rap and hip hop and other things. They got some great albums out. So I was kind of like their ringer for maybe 1 or 2 years. And then I got a job in Milwaukee, a substitute teaching job. And so I finished my student teaching in Madison, Wisconsin on a Friday. I moved over the weekend, and then I started my new day job on that Monday. And then, obviously I would bring the horn with me, and I would, go to whatever jam session I could find. I actually remember sitting in with the now very famous Dan Nimmer from
Yeah.
the Lincoln Center band. He just happened to be in this steakhouse called Moe's Steakhouse with a bass player. And I was just, again, I'm alone in this new city. I'm walking around with my trumpet, and I just happen to walk in, and I see Dan and this bass player playing, and I say, "Mind if I sit in or something?" And we played the whole night. And then years later, I went with a buddy of mine to Symphony Center in Chicago, and I went up to Dan Nimmer after the gig, and he looked at me and he said, "Moe's Steakhouse." So I made some sort of impression, and then
Yeah.
and then I moved to Chicago in 2003.
Yeah.
Um, I got a job teaching French actually in the Chicago suburbs, Lyons Township High School, where I am now. And I would go, take the Green Line and go to the jam sessions at Andy's Jazz Club, the Green Mill,
Yeah.
places like that. And then I'd go back, and it was a tough Monday morning, but
Yeah.
worth it.
Yeah.
And then I do more and more jam sessions, and I would, I took a couple of lessons here and there, which I very much needed, and I would meet guys, and um, one thing kind of led to another, and then the band formed.
So, do you remember the first live jazz show you saw that blew you away?
Oh wow, that's a great question. I remember when I was in high school, my dad took me on kind of a jazz trip. So we went to New York, and I remember hearing Maynard Ferguson at the Blue Note, I
Wow.
think it was, Art Farmer at the Village Vanguard,
Wow.
and Wynton Marsalis at must have been Lincoln Center.
Yeah.
I still have the napkin somewhere that he signed. I mean, that was a young Wynton,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like mustache Winton,
Uh-huh. Yep.
and with the hair and yeah, I'm looking at it right over there. Um, that's the first one that sticks out in my
That's
mind.
wonderful.
Right.
So let me ask you this.
Mm.
Was it always going to be music? Were you always going to be a musician? Was that your destiny?
I don't know. I've always kind of done it ever since I don't know, maybe elementary school or middle school. It's never really been my career or my profession, but I've always had it with me, and it's become a more and more important part of my life. And it's just kind of developed.
Yeah.
So had you asked me in high school, like, do you want to be a professional jazz trumpet player? I probably would have said, well, yeah, in my dreams,
Yeah.
but maybe that's the dream I was chasing.
Well, and that's my exactly, and that's my question.
Yeah.
You have this idea when you're thinking you're going to become a musician. You have
Hmm.
this like dreamy notion of what it's going to be, and then you
Right.
become one. What's the difference between the dream and living it?
Huge.
Yes, it is.
When you're dreaming about being a musician, one of the first jazz movies I saw was Mo Better Blues,
Yep.
the Spike Lee one.
Oh yeah.
And and if you look at kind of the lifestyle they live, fancy apartments, beautiful clothes, packed jazz clubs, everything is so elegant and everyone on stage is just so cool and the money's just flowing in and they're turning away people at the door. Not exactly what I've lived. I'm more the guy playing on Monday night for a bucket
Yeah.
and hoping somebody will throw something in there. Um so yeah, it's the dream is definitely different from reality. However, sometimes in my experience anyway, and I hope this happens more, you get that gig where you're in a great venue and there are a lot of people there and you get just like a little glimpse or a little taste of what things could be like. So
Yeah.
maybe that's the dream I'm chasing, more of that. It was funny. I was throwing this title out to my saxophone player Scott Angst, and he said, you call it chasing the dream, but I feel like we're kind of living the dream.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, there's something to that. Maybe I just want to live more of that dream, you know,
Yeah.
and just keep growing. Somebody on another podcast said, "What's your goal?" And I said, just to get better.
Yeah. So, you come to Chicago in '03, and
Mm,
it's a very story town like Kansas City and other big
sure,
cradles
yeah,
of jazz. What
yeah.
was the stage that you played on when you got here, after you got here, that you were like, man, I can't believe this is going down? Were you ever be speckled by being in a certain venue?
I remember playing at the Green Mill. Um, there was this jam session there, actually led by the gentleman who did this album art
Yeah.
for me, Steve Hashimoto.
Yeah.
Great bass player as well. And he and a drummer named Rick Shandling, and there were some other people in the group. They would play in this jam session at the Green Mill, and I think it started around 2 in the morning, maybe 1:30 or 2 in the morning, and it would finish at 4 or something like that. And so I would get there and I would look around and I would see this place that had been there since, for a very long time, and it was kind of overwhelming. I mean, that's what a real jazz club looks like. It's what a real jazz club feels like.
Yeah. So what do you like the best about being a professional musician? What gets you up every day? What motivates you? What do you look forward to?
Well, thank you for calling me a professional musician. The IRS would probably disagree. Um, I reported my earnings and they laughed. So technically, I'm a French teacher. I'm a high school French teacher, and I
Sure.
do music on the side. So maybe semi-professional because occasionally I do get paid. But what gets me out of bed every morning? That was your question, right?
Yeah, what do you look forward to the most?
Okay.
Yeah.
I look forward to the next gig. It's as simple as that. If I don't have a lot of stuff booked, I feel a little, well, empty. I don't want to get, melodramatic, but it's a very important part of my life. And I look forward to kind of overcoming the challenges that I experienced on the last gig. So like I just did something last night. And so, I'm driving home, I'm thinking, all right, I could have done that better, et cetera, et cetera. So I always look forward to getting up and improving and seeing what the next day is going to feel like. With the trumpet, it's like you have to almost remind yourself of what things feel like. So I look forward to that first initial warm up in the morning. I
Yeah.
really look forward to warming up in the morning. If I don't have my little morning warm up, things feel a little bit off.
Yeah.
And it's just a way to kind of get ready for the day.
Yeah.
Maybe I have a gig later tonight, which I do actually, or maybe I just want to go to a jam session. But if, I don't get that morning warm up in, I found that it kind of messes me up for the rest of the day. So it's funny. I actually look forward to just, you know, practicing and making sure everything feels good. A lot of it is physical.
Yeah.
as I'm sure you know. And if things
Yeah.
feel good physically, then, I'll have a better day.
Yeah, you'll be in good shape. So one of the
Exactly.
fringe benefits of being a musician, especially in jazz, is the community is a wonderful community.
Yes.
What do you like the best about being a part of this kind of global jazz community?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, yeah, it might very well be global, as you said. It definitely is. I kind of experience it more on a local level. For example, there's this jam session I run every Thursday. I was just there last night in a suburb of Chicago called
Yeah.
Niles, Illinois, and I never wanted to run a jam session. I never, that was never a dream I was chasing. I will tell you that right now. But it's turned out to be kind of a great thing, and there is kind of a community of people, as you were saying. Um, and the young guys are coming out, guys in high school sounding great in college, and it's great to work with them and see what they can do. And people seem really appreciative, when they go to a well-run jam session. So I enjoy, being able to do that for people. And it is kind of like a community, it's same faces, a lot of familiar faces. A lot of people you look forward to seeing. Some you
Yeah.
don't, but most you do.
Yeah, yeah,
Most
yeah.
you definitely do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice. And it's not just in that location. It's, let's say I go to the Tuesday night session over here or the Wednesday session over here. That's the great thing about Chicago. There's always some place to play.
Yeah.
There's never an excuse to leave your horn in your case.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have a gig, there's always some place to play. And wherever I go, I, most likely will run into somebody that I've seen or spent a lot of time with before because, music, it brings people together, not to sound too cliche, but it's like a common language, and it's fun to get together.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
Wynton Marsalis once said, it's fun to get together. We could all stay home and just listen to CDs, but that wouldn't be as fun as getting together.
Nope, you're right. So why do you love this art form we call jazz?
Well, you're asking the good questions today. Oh,
Coming after it.
you're coming out swinging, making me think. Well, I guess for selfish reasons, you get to express yourself, you
Yeah.
know, and it's like you get to put this original voice out there, and you're always chasing your own sound. You're trying to get deeper and deeper into your own musicianship, and it allows a freedom that I don't know if other kinds of music allow. I don't want to make any assumptions because I don't have any experience playing pretty much anything else, except marching band or something back in high school or brass band stuff. But like, and that allowed a lot of freedom too. But situations where you're not allowed to improvise and you just have to read the ink, that's not as much fun.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta make something up every time you get on stage.
Uh-huh.
That's kind of a unique thing. I mean, and nothing against classical music because I definitely cannot play that. I tried and I failed. But just for me personally, this is just me personally. If I were in a situation where I was counting 120 measures and then going bop, I wouldn't enjoy it as much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe I need to, nothing against it. Maybe I need to, you know, take another look. But I love the idea that you can just get up there, tell your story, interact with the other musicians. It allows a lot of freedom and
Yeah.
interaction.
For sure. So let me ask you this. If you could get into a time machine and go back in time and see one jazz show, who are you
Mm.
going to see and where are you going to go?
Village Vanguard, Woody Shaw.
I love it. Perfect. So everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, fans, all of your students at your day job, but
Yeah.
you ultimately run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
As a musician or just a person?
That Venn diagram bleeds into itself.
All right, I have a million limitations. Where should we start? Um,
How long do you have?
yeah, yeah. I don't think this computer is. I'm gonna have to get my charger here.
That's right.
Um,
Plug it in.
it all started when I was 6. Um, well, as a as a musician, I'm stubborn, I guess. Um, but I guess you kind of have to be because I always feel like I'm kind of fighting to get a bigger place at the table of jazz,
Yeah.
you know, and get the better gig, get into the bigger club, get my name out there. So I feel like this experience has it's either made me more stubborn or it's brought out my stubbornness because if you're not constantly bugging people, especially in a great town like Chicago, where you have a million great musicians, people aren't going to know you exist.
Yeah.
So you have to keep putting yourself out there, keep putting your music out there, keep going to the jam sessions, keep bugging the club owners. I think if you asked a lot of club owners who I am as a person and musician, they'd probably say, "Oh, he's that annoying guy who keeps emailing us all the time." Hmm. But my attitude has just become, sorry, I got one shot at this. I'm
Yeah.
gonna give it everything I got, and I might upset some people. I'm not trying to upset anybody. I'm just trying to play my horn.
Yep. Absolutely. So today is release day for Chasin the Dream.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to get a copy that will benefit you the most, catch you live, any of the good business, previous albums, where do they go?
Okay, so you can go to my website, samrobinsonmusic.com, and there are a bunch of links where you can get stuff. This latest one is up on Bandcamp. There's a Bandcamp link there.
Yep.
I also have a bunch of physical CDs, many of which I've kind of sent all over the country, but I have a bunch with me still. So I'll be selling those at live shows as well.
Okay.
So people can, come up to me at a gig and get one,
Okay.
or they can just email me, text me, call me, wherever. If you're not too far away, I'll even drive it over for you.
I love it. I will put all of these links in the show notes. Sam, what a joy, man. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. Best of luck. Have a great release day, man.
You too. Thanks so much. It's been a
Yeah,
pleasure.
you bet, man.
Neon Jazz.